Okay, so this is how I track my inventory for things that I sell on eBay or anywhere else, but most of my sales happen on eBay. So this would be once I sell something. This is the step for once something gets sold. And I just have this quick handwritten log. And what happens with this information is then I take this information and I enter it into a spreadsheet. So if you notice, each column is labeled, and the first column is the item that sold. The second column is the amount that it sold for. This column represents the fees that eBay charges me before any discounts. This is the PayPal fee. This is how much shipping was. And this column is the date that it sold, or that I would find the PayPal transaction or the eBay transaction if I ever needed to. And then this is notes. So let's see. So I like to double check what FedEx charges me. This one's went home delivery. But if you do FedEx Smart Post, they bill you at the end of the month, and I like to double check. I don't go through my invoice with a fine-tooth comb every month, but I do double check these from time to time, so I like to keep track of which ones went FedEx, so that it makes it easier to double check on the invoice and make sure that what I was actually charged was this amount. Now this one's going home delivery, and I think this one is paid for in advance. So I probably didn't need to even write that down. It's just a habit. Now also the notes would be where I would keep track of, like, if it's something that I consigned. So like I might write John here if I consigned something for a guy named John or whatever. I have like several people that I'm doing that for, so. Also the notes would be just if anything's weird, or if somebody gets charged taxes. Sometimes I'll have a column over here for taxes, because in my spreadsheet the taxes are in a column here between PayPal and shipping, but I actually forgot to do it on this one. I just write these out by hand every time I need a new one. I used to make copies of them, but I'm out of ink in my printer, and it really doesn't take much time to make these things up. So, but I hardly ever sell anything in my state. So, if something comes up during the time that I'm using this sheet, I can just write in the tax over here, and I'll just have to remember it. But I typically do have a column here because it just makes it easier, because when you're going into the spreadsheet, I want it to be as fast as possible. And I can type without looking, and I'm a pretty fast typer, and so I can just go do 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 do, and everything's in. So then let's review these item names. Now there's a reason why I have them. There's a couple things that I like to include over here. If it's something that if it's a clothing item, for example, and maybe I have 3 black shirts. Well, no, or if I just write down like the brand of the shirt or something and some other descriptive term, I might be like, well, was that pink or purple? Or like, is it going to be my pink bin or my purple bin? Because I have my clothing is all organized by color, and that's how I locate my clothing items. Now, and then sometimes like I'll go back into my inventory room and I'll be like, what the heck color was that thing, So it's a good idea for some things. If I think I'm going to forget the color, I will write it down over here. But there's more to this than meets the eye. So the way I have these written are how they are written in the title for the listing. And that matches what is already in my spreadsheet, because when I get new items in, I put the title in eBay in my spreadsheet, and so that's how I reference things. So it needs to be an exact match, or at least the first 4 words or so of the title need to be an exact match. So if I ever change a title, I got to remember to go into my spreadsheet. So I think long and hard about whether I want to change my titles, because I have run into the problem of forgetting. And then I still have some older things that before I had it figured out that don't necessarily match what's in the title, and then it takes me a while to find stuff. But I find that if whatever is in my spreadsheet matches the title, then I don't have to like hunt for things in my spreadsheet, because there might be some way to easily and quickly pull up something in spreadsheets. And yeah, sometimes you'll type in the cell. I use Google Sheets, and sometimes you'll type in a cell and then something will pop up, like suggestions will pop up, but it doesn't always work. So I have to organize my spreadsheet alphabetically, and then I just find what I need on that spreadsheet. And I have about over 500 listings on that spreadsheet. So I probably need to do something a little better as I get closer to a couple thousand listings. But for right now, this is working fine. And I think this is a really great, easy, cheap, free way to track your inventory if you are a low volume seller. And by low volume seller, I would say anybody that sells less than 1,000, has less than 1,000 items listed on eBay or anywhere where they're selling things. Once you get over 1,000, I mean, even at 500, you might want to think about doing something different. But I find that as long as I stick with the rules, I can find stuff pretty easily. So, okay, so I hope that's understandable. Now, I don't always 100% write down exactly how the title is written on here. Because I know it's going to be easy to find something like MJ cases, like that's Matilda Jane, and they're these little train cases, and that's going to be easy for me to find. The Hello Kitty, like I don't have a lot, I only have like one Hello Kitty thing right now, and this is it. And so all I need to make sure to know is Hello Kitty, and I know exactly what it is. I'm not worried about where I'm going to find it. And then sometimes I just blindly write things, and I'm like, I didn't really need to write that much. So. But anyways, this is also a good system for if you're working with other people so that everybody knows what's going on. So then, once I find the item, I have a column already entered for how much I paid for the item, and it's already a negative. So then the next column over from that is how much the person paid in total, including shipping. This is the entire, because this is, one of the reasons I do this is because that's how you would find it in PayPal. So if you ever get audited or you need to go back and figure out what was going on with your numbers, the transaction for this dress barn thing here is the total amount of the PayPal transaction was $14.61. So it just makes it easier. And then also I know the date. Now on this one, my buyer purchased the item on the 27th of October but did not pay until the 1st of November. But I believe that the transaction in PayPal still shows on the 27th. I need to double check that, but I thought that the transaction on other past ones that I've done would have been on this later date. Or I don't know. I think, well, anyways, I've got both of these dates here, and then I have a note area in my spreadsheet that says what happened. So that's kind of always a bummer for bookkeeping purposes when that happens, because it's like a little monkey wrench if you ever need to figure out what's going on. But I found that whenever I need to go back and look at something, I can totally figure out what is going on without too much ado. So this system is really working. And it really helps me to know that, hey, I actually made money on this. And then every once in a while it'll be like, I made negative $1.27. Like, what the heck? How could that happen? Because sometimes, like, I'll just be like, I need to get rid of something. And maybe it was something I paid $3 or $4 for. And it's like, I don't want to donate it. It's like, I already went through the trouble of shipping it. I'd rather just lose $1 on it than donate it. Because I'm shipping stuff anyways. Especially on clothing items. But again, like if it's a clothing item that I got at the bins, it's no big deal to give that away. Or something I might have paid only $1 for. And it's just like, okay, it's been listed for 1.5 years. I don't think it's going anywhere. I only paid $1 for it. Let's just move it on somewhere else, donate it. Which I don't do. I tend to keep things listed because that's a whole nother topic. Okay, so anyway, so then to get your eBay fee, now again, this is before discounts. I don't even worry about what the discount is. And you might, right now I'm not even getting the discounts, but I was a top rated seller for quite some time, and hopefully I will be back there. But you can always account for that at the end of the month when you get your invoice. If you don't know how to get your fees, you go up to the very top menu of eBay and you go to help, and then you type in the top search bar, see fee details, and it'll pop up. You click on it, and then you have to click on each item individually to get these numbers. Now on this day, in the last couple days, I only had 6 sales, which is pretty sad, you guys. But this is reality. And so it was really fast. Now, on days where you might have 10 or 12 items that you sold, it's still not that bad, but you're like, oh my God, I have to keep going back and clicking. Why can't they just have some kind of a list like they have in PayPal, But this is, if you're a low volume seller, I'm telling you, this takes like a minute. If you're selling 3 to 5 items a day, it hardly takes any time. And then you go over to PayPal, and hopefully you're pretty up with what's going on in PayPal if you're already an eBay seller. And I usually click on the activity menu, and then it brings up, and then I click on, what is it called? Stuff that people purchase from me. Money that came in, purchases, what is that? It's like I'm so used to hitting it, I don't even think about it anymore. I don't know what it's called. But so it just shows all of the payments that came in. And not all the other stuff, like any payments sent out, like my shipping payments that went out. And it just makes it easier. And then I can look at the column, and then I just go, okay, the one for $27, PayPal fee was $108, the one for $49.63. And it's usually in order. And then also... And then as I'm doing my shipping, I just have this available, and I write those numbers in as I'm doing shipping. Then over here, too, before I start over here with the sold items in eBay, and I go down the line and I write down everything that's sold, and then that's what I know I'm going to get out of inventory, and then I write the dates at that time, and then I'll usually go in the total, and then I'll do these, and then I'll go get the stuff, and then I'll do the shipping numbers last. So you can't just, you have to actually do shipping before you can get those numbers. Although sometimes I just, well, you know what, sometimes I don't even pretend. Like sometimes you think something's going to be 8 ounces or less, and it's going to be 260, and it's not. So I weigh everything. If I can save 5 cents, I'm going to save 5 cents. But, so almost all of this can be done in one sitting before you do your shipping. Then, once I get my shipping, then I go into my spreadsheet and enter all of the information in. And so that's going to be coming up in another video. I'm going to download that screen share program, and I need to get a microphone. So hopefully I'll be doing that next week. But I think that is pretty much everything. Once you get all of your information compiled, it's real quick in the spreadsheet. The only thing that takes time is if you can't find an item in your spreadsheet. But most of the time, it takes me just a few seconds to find an item. And the problem with not finding the item is usually my fault for not making sure that the title matches. And then, then you're like, okay, well, maybe I put it under this, and maybe I put it under that, and sometimes I know, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's probably under this, and my first guess is usually right, but sometimes I'll have to hunt for things, like try 3 or 4 different things, and you don't want that. Okay, I think that's pretty much all there is to know about that. So yeah, stay tuned or keep an eye out for the next videos in how I do my spreadsheets, basically, for inventory. All right, thanks for watching. Bye. Let me know if you have any questions.